Hi, folks. In the years of leading teams and training and coaching leaders, I've seen exceptional leaders and I've seen some not so good leaders. And I've also seen the not so good leaders, not just seen, but being instrumental in assisting those not so good leaders go from where they are to become great and exceptional leaders. And one of the key components in their overall development has been the leadership mindset. Welcome to the 30. I am your host, Patrick. Thanks for joining me. Let's go. Hi there. Hi, folks. Now, part one of the leadership mindset, we went over what the meaning of a leadership mindset was. We also discussed what I found were the six key components of having a leadership mindset. Of course, there are many more components, but I like those six that we discussed in part one of this series. If you remember the leadership mindset, we talked about that it refers to a way of thinking and approaching challenges that goes beyond holding a formal title or a position of authority. We said it's not about title, it's about it's about adopting a mindset that is rooted in responsibility, growth, accountability, and vision. We also established that individuals with a leadership mindset view themselves as accountable not only for their own actions, but for guiding and influencing others towards their own goal. So that's what we talked about in our part one. So in part two, what we're going to do is to make a pivot. And we're going to build upon part one, and we're going to explore practical and actionable steps where leaders at every level, whether you are a beginner, you're just beginning your leadership journey, or you are a tenured and more experienced leader. So we're going to talk about any type of leaders, beginner, experience, and those that truly want to sharpen their mindset, foster trust, and drive meaningful change. So that's what this episode is all about. Focus on those leaders that I said want to sharpen their mindset, foster trust, and drive meaningful change. So let's get started. We're not going to delay here. The first one that I want to talk about is practice daily self-reflection. So this is the first actionable step, the first practical step. So as a leader, when you are moving towards that leadership mindset, where you want to really sharpen that mindset and foster trust and drive meaningful change, is to practice what we call daily self-reflection. So it's an opportunity for you to really reflect on the past, maybe the previous day or the previous week. You want to focus on your interactions. How were your interactions? Who did you interact with? You also want to reflect on some of your decisions. What were your decisions made? How were they made? And then you want to focus on the challenges. How many challenges did you have in the previous day or week or days previously? Ask yourself, do a self analysis. Ask yourself, what went well? What didn't go so good? And what have you learned from it? So, as we reflect on yourself daily, I would suggest taking about 5 to 10 minutes of your time and look at those interactions, as I mentioned, those decisions that you made, and the challenges that you experienced. And ask yourself the hard questions. Sometimes it can be difficult for us to ask ourselves some of those challenging, difficult questions. We don't want to reflect. We don't want to look ourselves in the mirror and say, what did I do well? How did I show up in this situation? What didn't I do well? What were some areas of opportunity? What could I have done better in my interactions? In our training, we talk a lot about every interaction that we have with someone. It's either a deposit or a withdrawal. So in your interactions, are you making more deposits? Are you making more withdrawals? Think about it as a bank, right? You're going to the bank. Are you depositing more? Are you withdrawing more? So with your interactions, if you are making negative deposits, eventually your interactions is going to be bankrupt, right? So those that you are interacting with, they're not going to be focused as they should with what you're saying or what you're doing. So we want to make more deposits when we're interacting with our folks, with anyone, as opposed to withdrawals. So, and the third thing that you want to ask is, what did I learn? What have I, based on the experience that I've gone through, based on the challenges that I've experienced in the previous day, what have I learned from them? Everything that we go through, every challenge that we experience, there should be a learning opportunity. There should be something that you've taken away where you can ask yourself or say to yourself, I could have done that much better. I could have said that a little different. I could have interacted with that person a little bit different. Maybe I should have sent that email. I should have talked with the person in person, right? Or called them, as opposed to sending that email or that text. So you want to do a self-analysis, do a self-reflection. So that's number one of these practical or actionable steps for leaders when we're looking at the leadership mindset. The benefit here when you're doing the self-reflection is that it enhances your self-awareness. And this is a big piece that I find with leaders, is that they are not as self-aware as they should, right? They don't know how they're showing up. And one of the reasons that I find is that they're not asking others. They're not getting feedback and input from others. They're just going about their happy way, thinking everything that I say or do should be it. They're having that boss mentality as opposed to having a leadership mindset mentality, right? So no, not everything that you say or do is what people are taking and running with it. You may have that boss, but they're looking for a leader. They're looking for someone to lead them. They're looking for someone to develop them, right? No one wants to have a boss all the time. They're looking for someone to help move them forward. So this gives you, when you're looking at yourself, it helps to enhance your leadership awareness. It also helps you to identify areas of personal growth. Maybe you're missing something. It helps to really identify what those areas are. So it helps with personal growth. Helps you keep focus on improving your leadership impact. Note I said it helps you to improve your leadership impact, not just your leadership skills or your leadership competencies, but your leadership impact. See, improving as a leader should be one of your top goals. See, what I find is that people are given the title of a leader, or they self-identify themselves as a leader. But what's missing are the skills and the competencies of a leader. So if I'm given a title, if I think of myself as a leader, but I don't have the skills and the competencies of a leader, then there is a gap. There's a miss, right? So if you have been elevated to the point of leadership, if you identify yourself as a leader, and you've heard me spoken about this before, there's a difference between managing and leading. There's a difference between a manager and a leader. And we talk about this extensively in some of our training classes, our leadership training classes. There's a big difference there. Yes, sometimes leaders have to manage and sometimes managers have to lead, but there's a difference between the two. But if you're elevated to the point of a leader, or the position, I should say, of a leader, or you self-identify as a leader and your skill set does not match, what you should be doing is looking for training and development classes. You should be looking to say, how can I develop myself where my skills match my title? Because if you have the title but no skills, there's some deficiencies there. So if you're deficient in your skill set as a leader, if you're deficient in your competencies as a leader, but you're given the title, there are some problems. You're going to be heading for some problems sooner than later. So you should always be looking to improve. You should always be looking to develop yourself. What can I do to get from where I am to where I desire to be as a leader? How can I get from good to great to exceptional? Those are some of the things that you should be asking yourself and actively pursuing development, actively pursuing training, coaching, investing in yourself so that not only can you have the title, but you can also have the skills and the competency that goes with that. Now you become more impactful as a leader. So that's number one. Practice daily self-reflection, 5 to 10 minutes a day. The second, the second step, practical and actionable step that every leader should be practicing or looking to do is develop active listening skills. Now, there are two types of listening skills. There's your active and there's your passive. And I leave that for another topic, another discussion. Because I know you may be saying, well, what's passive listening and what's active listening? Hey, if you're part of our training or leadership training, you will know what the difference is between passive and active listening. So what we want to do is our action should be as we're communicating, because listening is an important part of communication. We may not think that. We may think just talking is communication. No, one of the key components of communication is listening. How well do you listen? And folks, listening is different from hearing. You see, we hear things. We necessarily don't listen. The goal of listening is really listen to understand. When we're hearing, we're just hearing things. But when we're listening intently, we should be listening to understand. We should be putting all things away so that we're not distracted in listening. So the focus should be more on listening and less on speaking. If someone is speaking to you, your responsibility is to be listening. if that person is important to you, if the conversation that's being discussed is important to you. If it's not important, flush it off. Ignore what I just said. But you should be listening more than you speak. And if you don't, there are ways of listening. I remember when I first started out in sales, and I was in my 20s, thought I was Mr. Hot Stuff, right? Outside sales, doing well. And I was horrible at listening because I thought everyone needed our solution. So I would ask the question, interrupt, and give solutions. Well, that got old quickly because I found that my closing ratio was low. And you can identify if you were in sales, if your closing ratio is low, there is something going on. Probably you're bringing in more solutions as opposed to listening to what the customer is saying. So I was a horrible listener. I would interrupt. I would be distracted. So my manager at the time, genius move. He knew exactly what I needed. And he says, Patrick, I want you to look for a listening class. We're talking about develop. This is leadership, folks, right? As a leader, his job is to develop me. So he saw that I was deficient in listening. I was not effective when it came to listening. My listening skills was horrible. So he, in an effort to develop me, he suggested that I explore some training on listening. So one of the training classes that I went to was power listening. And it gave me very specific strategies. I remember the teacher saying, or the trainer saying, right, because sometimes we are impacted by pain. We react when there's pain involved. So the trainer said to us, if you struggle with listening, you can do one of two things. You can have someone, every time that you don't listen, you pay someone some money, right? Well, I wasn't going to do that. I was not going to pay someone to tell me that I'm not listening. That was not going to happen. So then he says, use a rubber band, put it on your hand, and every time you don't listen, pop yourself. I said, well, wow, I got one or two choices. I can pay someone to tell me when I'm not listening, or I can pop myself and induce pain, and that will help me to listen more. Well, I took the pain route as opposed to giving away the money, right? Although I knew it was more of an investment in myself. So every time I was challenged with listening, or someone pointed out that I wasn't listening, I would pop myself with the rubber band. So that helped create a habit in me, that helped to create in terms of a behavior of listening to understand. So if I didn't understand something, I would always ask the question or ask the person to clarify or to rephrase what was said. Or I would rephrase what I thought was being said. So help me to understand. Help me to understand. So to be clear, this is what I heard. Is that right? So that helped me a great deal in terms of listening to understand. I hope this strategy can help you, right? I hope in terms of really reflecting and understanding that, hey, I am not a good listener. I am deficient in listening to understand, and I need to do something about it. It's about improvement. It's about developing yourself. It's about taking you from where you are to where you desire to be. So what does active listening do? The benefit of active listening is that it fosters trust. It shows the person that you are engaging or you're speaking with that they are important. It demonstrates respect to the person. You're not distracted. You're not interrupting them, but it shows them that they are important to you and what they have to say is important. So you can check in every now and then, right? Just to clarify. Can you clarify that? Can you say that again? This is what I heard. Is that right? And what it does, a third thing it does, it builds bonds, right? From a team standpoint, if you are the leader of the team and someone is speaking on the team, guess what? You don't know it all. So you show respect by listening actively to what the team member is saying. See, we want to think that we know it all, but we don't know it all. So show some respect and listen to the person that is speaking. The fourth thing that it does is it encourages open communication. There's nothing worse on a team where everyone feels like they can't talk, can't speak, because they're feeling that if they say something, that you're going to come back at them, that there's some kind of retribution. That's not effective teamwork, folks. That's not success. That's not progress. Should be fostering an atmosphere where your team members feel as if they can contribute something positive to the equation. I've seen it so many times as I'm engaging leaders, as I'm on a team or training leaders or coaching leaders or developing leaders. I've seen it so many times where the leader does not foster an environment of open and honest dialogue or communication. You have to set the culture where open communication is valued. If not the team, you're not going to have a functional team. The third thing that we want to focus on is setting a clear vision and be able to communicate it to your team members consistently. There goes that communication thing again, right? So we have to be able to communicate clearly. But the first part of this, of number 3, is setting a clear vision. Define a vision for your team or the project that you're working on. Make sure that that vision or the objective of the project is clear and it aligns with the overall goal of the organization or your department. You want to make sure that it is clear, that when everyone leaves, that there's clarity and understanding. See, what happens sometimes, we think that we're communicating clearly, but in essence, we're not. And then when the person or persons leave, when the team members leave, and now they're executing on what they think they are supposed to be doing to the best of their ability, and then you decide, well, that's not what I wanted. That's not the team member's fault. That is your responsibility. Because the person or persons are going according to how they interpret it. See, communication is two ways. There's a sender and there's a receiver. In order for the message to be clear, it has to be received according to how the sender wanted it to be received. So the sender sends a message. The receiver accepts the message. But if the message is not clear, then the receiver goes off and do something else. And that's not the receiver's fault. Well, partially the receiver's fault, because that receiver should have checked in for clarity. But it's also on the sender. So if you are the leader, you're the sender, you need to check in with your team members and says something like this. Is it clear? Is it understood? Does everyone understand the vision? Does everyone understand what was said? Does everyone understand the goal? So before anyone leaves, you want to check in for clarity. So set a clear vision and communicate it consistently. What I suggest is that you break the vision down into achievable milestones. and share it regularly. Break it down. So if you have a large vision, break it down into achievable milestones or steps and communicate it regularly. See, as human beings, I was reading a study some time ago, and it said we should be saying, in order for someone to receive a message accurately, we should be saying it 6 or 7 times. So we should be saying it over and over again. We should be repeating it on a regular basis so that the message is clear. The vision is clear. Your goal is clear. See, a clear vision keeps everyone aligned and motivated. I'll say that again. A clear vision keeps everyone aligned and motivated, giving the team a sense of purpose and direction. So if your message is not clear, if you're not communicating it clearly and regularly, and it's not received by the person, what happens is that the vision becomes muddy. There's less motivation, and the team doesn't have a sense of purpose and direction. So reflect on your actions, right? Remember, that was number 1. Self-reflect. And the message or the vision that I'm communicating to my team, am I clear? How am I showing up? Am I saying it regularly? Or are you the type to get frustrated and get mad because you have to communicate the vision or the mission or the plan on a regular basis? I hear some leaders say, well, I said it once. Why do I need to say it again? I said it twice. Why do I need to say it again? Well, maybe there's some people that don't understand it, and they're afraid of asking you the vision. So as the leader, you have to take it upon yourself and communicate it regularly. See, what happens too is that people learn, adults learn differently. And you have to compensate for the different types of learning styles. Someone may learn auditory, right? Someone may learn by doing. Someone may learn visually. So you have to put those together if you are communicating a vision or a goal, and understand your team members. We talked about this previously. Understand, knowing your team members. That's a critical component of leadership. Effective leadership is knowing who's on your team. You need to take some time to understand and know who's on your team. I'm pretty passionate about this leadership thing, if you can't tell. So folks, I just want to step in. We're going to continue this. Next week, we're going to continue, because I think it's important, as I've seen so many leaders. And trust me, I've been there. I make a lot of mistakes as a leader. But my goal is always to improve. My goal is always to check in. How am I doing? And I self-reflect. I solicit feedback. I always say feedback is a gift, and it's not always good, right? It's not always promising. Some people may say, hey, your leadership skills is horrible. I want to know, what about my leadership skills is horrible? Be more specific, right? So we all make mistakes as leaders. But the goal is always to seek to improve. How can I improve? How can I get better? How can I move from where I am to be from the good leader to the great leader to the exceptional leader? What do I need to do? And at times, you may have to go through a leadership class. But go to a leadership training. I've been a leader for 40 years. Yes, you may have to do that. You may have to seek a coach. Tell me that I have to invest in a coach? Yes. So training, coaching, leadership development, right? Always seek to improve. None of us are to the point where we should be as a leader. So I don't care where you are as a leader. I don't care what organization that you have, whatever profit, non-for-profit, your goal should always be looking to improve. And you can do that through development, training, coaching, seeking feedback, getting feedback from others. All right, folks, that's it for now. I want to thank you. Thank you for tuning in for this second part of the leadership mindset. Next week, we will continue and we'll talk about, well, I think I'll continue on giving you some additional practical and actionable steps to help you with your leadership mindset. If you have any questions whatsoever, or you simply would like to get a hold of us or myself, I would like for you to do this. Let me pull this up here. And you can reach me at info@Jackman Group LLC.com. That is info@JackmanGroupLLC.com. I would love to hear from you. If you would like to drop us a line, tell us how we're doing, or if you would simply like to have leadership training or leadership coach, or you would like to enhance your leadership development, drop us a line, info@JackmanGroupLLC.com. I would love the opportunity to partner with you. Our team would love the opportunity to partner with you and take you from where you are to where you desire to be. All right. If you would like to join our leadership community, this is called Impact Leaders Connect Community. You can do that. I'm going to put this here as we end. So click there, go to sign up, join us, and also look at what is offered. Look at what we offer, right? Look at what is part of becoming a member of this community. Well, that's it for now, folks. I want to thank you for being here. We will see you next week as we continue what we talk about, the leadership mindset. May God bless you. We will see you next week. Peace.